not having any idea and no skills on riding an electric skateboard to falling in love with something and it becoming a passion and then just striving for more and more and wanting to do the most they can on one of our boards.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the eSkate Chat podcast with Evolve.
Are we going to use the technology from what's on the Hayden series?
It's changing that whole final drive ratio.
Surfing this endless wave through Tokyo.
Electric skateboarding is like breaking through.
Every time I wanted to drink, I would step on this board.
Heard somebody say, "Hey, Dean."
100%.
We'd love to build our own specialized eSkate track. I mean, the amount of thought that went into that.
I want to talk about how it affected the riders.
So I went skating with Tony Hawk.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Really? There's a whole new product line.
I've done things I never thought I'd be able to do because of electric skateboarding.
Welcome back to another episode of the eSkate Chat podcast. We're here with Vicky, our global customer service manager. How's your week been?
Yeah, good, thanks. Busy, but enjoyable.
Right, it's been raining quite a bit here, so we've seen, I guess, no demo rides.
Yes, no, unfortunately not. We had to cancel one yesterday, but we've rearranged that for next week. So hopefully the weather dries up a bit and we can get some people riding some boards.
Yeah, cool. So that's what I wanted to talk about on this podcast, right? All the things new riders need to know, or people that haven't even bought a board yet.
Okay.
So what are some of the things people need to know? What are some of the mistakes brand new riders make when they get a board? So we'll jump into that one thing at a time, I guess. When someone comes into the store for a test ride, right, they've never had an experience with an electric skateboard. What are some of the most common questions, queries, or things on their mind that they want to talk about?
So first of all, a lot of customers like to know the performance the board can give, so what speeds, what range. We also get a lot of people asking about the difference between the carbon and the bamboo decks, and particularly for new riders, we normally recommend the bamboo as it does have that flex, just feels a bit comfier when you're not used to that style of riding, easier to turn and maneuver and shift your body weight. Also how, just the basics of how the boards work, pairing the remote, how to start and brake. We always walk through the speed limits, the modes they can use, how to stand on the board and hold themselves. And we always recommend that they take it slow to start off with. Don't go crazy. Don't push yourself. That's when people make mistakes.
Yeah, there's definitely people overestimating their skills, right?
Yes, 100%.
It's too easy to jump on this thing and just pull a trigger, and before you know it, 40, 50 kilometers an hour.
Yes, exactly. So we often recommend staying in eco mode and putting a speed restriction on your remote when you are learning. I know when I first started riding, I always kept my speed limit to 20 k's an hour, nice and cruisy, gave me that confidence to learn how to control the board, how I wanted to stand, keep my body weight distributed nicely. So yeah, always suggest that to new riders. And then as you get more confident, then you can think about, going faster. I'm still learning, I'm still practicing. I've upped my speed restriction to 30 Ks, but I still have it on.
It keeps you out of trouble because especially 30's getting up there at the point where it's just a little bit much that you can't run off. You can if you really want to sprint, but 20 kilometers an hour, if you get a little bit messed up, you can run off the front and you're not going to face plant.
For sure. And I've still not fallen off, touch wood. And I feel it's because I've done things like that. I've been mindful of my abilities. I've taken it slow. And when I tell people that they can't believe it, but it's through those tips and tricks that I've been able to practice and build that confidence. So that's why I always suggest that to customers as well.
I'd say you're more sensible than some of us, but it's obviously served you well. So that's good. How many people come in and they're just, I guess, confused or worried if they're like how hard it's going to be, like whether they can actually do it or not? Yeah,
we do get a lot of customers who have that kind of those nerves, I guess, and think they have no ability because they've never got on a skateboard or a surfboard. But again, I always tell them that neither had I. I'd never done anything like this before. And it was just about, making that jump, getting on, as I said before, taking it slow, knowing your abilities, looking at the environment around you, and just believing in yourself, not pushing yourself to the limits while you're getting comfortable.
People come in obviously with all different backgrounds and experiences in what they've done. So from the people that it's their first time on an electric skateboard, we put them out for a ride pretty much. You go with them. What's the difference in like initial skill? Like how many people jump on and it's like, oh, they can just do it, versus people that really, really struggle versus people that are sort of in the middle? It might take them 5 minutes and then they're like, okay, I'm feeling this now.
Yeah, I really think it comes down to the person's belief in themselves. The people that are really nervous, they say, oh, I can't do this. They're the ones that seem to struggle because they're uncomfortable. You can see their body language. They're not used to being in those positions, and rather than just feeling at one with the board, they tighten up or they make erratic movements. Whereas people that maybe have never done anything like it before but are excited and ready to give it a go, we normally see that they pick things up quicker and have smoother rides, seem more at one with the board, flow nicely.
Yeah, that's definitely the ability to, not the ability, the want to be able to do it.
Yes.
That plays a big part. I've seen that at events, because there is a point at which a bit of speed helps. It makes it easier,
100%.
Especially when it comes to turning and stuff. Do you find that?
Yes, and that is one thing that I always struggled with at first, was really getting those turns and those carves, because I was nervous and I was scared of falling off if I went too far. And it really stopped me being able to control that board. So like you said, I would slow down all of a sudden when I was coming to a corner, or I would be too scared to lean my body weight too far in case I fell. And it wasn't until I kind of let all of that go that I was able to start to pick those skills up and become more confident. Another big one as well was getting the speed wobbles when I first started, and that used to scare me so much. But again, I realized I was pushing myself to limits with skills I didn't quite have yet. And I hadn't looked at the way the board was set up. I was just jumping on and thinking, oh, this is fine for my abilities. So yeah, it's really kind of a big picture of thinking about all those things, having all the right information, believing in yourself, having that confidence, and just taking things a step at a time.
Now, let's talk about the common mistakes that we see new riders make. So straight off the bat, you just mentioned speed wobbles. That's a big one. What's your views on speed wobbles and how to deal with it, and what's the cause?
So again, as I mentioned, first-time riders or newbies getting a bit excited and trying to go too fast for their abilities. Take it easy, get practice in, build that confidence and skills up, and then up your speeds. If you're still finding you're struggling with speed wobbles, you can adjust your trucks, try different bushings. You might need something a bit harder. New riders often don't know that information about their board. So we always try and suggest things like that for them, offer different setups they can try. Lots of cool videos we've got on our YouTube and socials that we suggest people watching. So I think it's really important that newbies really get stuck into all of that information that is out there and try and learn as much as they can about the abilities of the boards and the way they can set things up in line with their skill set at that time.
I do have an opinion on this as well.
Yep.
And when it comes to speed wobbles, I think a lot of it is coming down to your rider ability. Yes, there's things you can do. You can tighten your trucks. You can change your bushings. But in terms of electric skateboards or skateboards in general, Evolve boards aren't that fast. Like, they are fast, but don't get me wrong. People ride downhill longboards with no motors at 120 kilometers an hour. And they don't get speed wobbles because they have the skill set to match the speed they're doing. So if you find yourself riding progressively faster and you're building the speeds as you go, you're going to understand weight distribution. You're going to understand how the board's moving underneath you. And with the right skill set, a good rider can ride a board with not set up trucks at a higher speed without a problem. So typically I'll say if you're getting speed wobbles, slow down, practice, get better, and that's going to lead you to then be able to work up slowly in a way that you're actually capable of riding that fast.
Yeah, 100%. And as I said, personally for me, being a newbie rider and learning over the months I've been here, I found at first I was getting those wobbles because I wasn't used to it. I didn't have that ability. Once I did at that speed limit, I was comfortable to up it, but then I was getting the wobbles again because, as you said, I'd got my skills and my ability to this point, and I've now tried to push it even further, which I wasn't at yet. So by slowing down a bit, just practicing my stance, one big thing, as you said, just that weight distribution. When I was finding I was getting faster and getting to those 30 Ks an hour and getting those speed wobbles again, a lot of it was the way I was standing. And once I kind of slowed down, looked what I was doing, adjusted it, I could get back on and go faster again without having that effect.
Yep, that's weight on the front foot for those playing at home. That's one of the biggest things I find that's going to sort of mitigate that. As long as you got 60, 70% of that weight right up the front, that's going to stop that front end, which is where the wobbles start, and sort of protect you from that.
Yes, 100%. And also I suggest to customers, and what helped me was not being scared. If that does happen, don't be scared. Don't think, oh no, I can't do this, or I'm going to fall off and hurt myself, or I'm not good enough. Take it back a notch. Reassess what you're doing. Hone in on those skills that you've started learning at those lower speeds. And like I said, take it step by step.
Other common mistakes new riders make is anything to do with actually using the remote in terms of the dexterity to use the triggers?
Yeah. Again, a lot of the time, people that have never been on a electric skateboard aren't used to holding a remote whilst riding. Also, looking at other brands, how they have different style remotes, they might be used to that. So it is kind of like reteaching your brain how to do something or learning that muscle memory. One good thing about our remotes that I love is how ergonomic they are. They are generally pretty easy to hold and control. But again, it's getting used to those, how it works. So, maybe testing it while you're not riding, just having it on the ground and seeing how far the trigger goes, how fast it accelerates, how quickly it can brake. Also on our new models with the phase remote, you can set up those custom modes. Setting a custom mode up, that's going to work for you with a nice smooth accelerator while you're learning. It's really about, again, learning the board and the remote and trying things before you jump on it.
Something I struggled with the remote at the very start of when I rode, and I've seen other people do it too, is when they get into a little bit of trouble, maybe they've carved too deep or whatever it is, letting off that remote, that acceleration, and it takes away your speed, and that throws you forward, and then you try and do it again, and then that throws you back, and suddenly you're being jerked around all over the board, whereas if you had maintained the fluidity of that acceleration, you would have actually been okay.
Yeah, and I've definitely experienced that several times as well. Again, I think for me personally, it came down to nerves and not knowing what I could do, what the board could do, and understanding the science, I guess, behind it as well. Because, if you're coming to a curve, much like in a car, if you slow down too much, you're actually going to make things harder for yourself. So it is really getting used to keeping that constant speed, being consistent in your ride. Again, learning about this before you get on, talk to other riders, watch the videos we've done, and just practice somewhere, maybe on some grass, where if you do have a little fall, you're not going to hurt yourself as bad, where you can build that confidence to keep that speed constant, do those nice big carves, keep control of that board with your weight distributed evenly. Definitely have been through that myself. I've seen a few customers do it. Again, comes with practice and just having that confidence in knowing that by keeping that speed, by maintaining that constant trigger held down, that you can probably pull off more than if you try to slow down and you rewind. Rewind.
We know what you're saying. The trigger fluidity. That's a beautiful word. Smoothness. That's the first thing I tell people when they demo. I say, don't hit that acceleration too hard, don't hit that brake too hard. And then lift the back wheels off the ground, give it to them and make them do it before they get on the board.
Yes.
And then it's like, okay, gentle, you'll be fine.
Yes, because we get a lot of people like first time on, and like you said, that kind of jolt, that feeling, they're not used to it. They don't realise how quick it's going to be or how much it's going to pull, and they, jolt forward or lean backwards. So, always show the customers how to use the remote first of all, explain to them how it works with the board, and again, do a kind of test run, an example without anyone on the board. Flip it over so it doesn't fly off on you, and show them, pull the trigger, this will happen. Press the brake, this will happen, and show them how quick those accelerators do work.
You just mentioned weight distribution, so like leaning forward, leaning back, depending on what you're doing. Tell me how you'd explain that to a customer.
So we're always, with the newbies, customers that come in for demos or even people that just contact us for advice, we always recommend a nice wide stance, keeping your weight nice and balanced over the board. When you're pulling off, you're pulling that accelerator trigger, you are naturally going to feel like you want to jolt. So we always recommend kind of shifting that weight forward a little bit. It just helps balance it out when you're taking off. And then the opposite, when you're braking, it's essentially the negative reaction of accelerating. So you're going to put your brake on, you're going to lean back into it a little bit. That really makes such a difference when you are skating, especially when you're not used to it and those things just become natural to you. Just taking a minute to think about where you need to place your body weight to ensure a nice smooth ride.
Yeah, offsetting that inertia is just like absolutely crucial in electric skateboarding, which is super funny when you put traditional skateboarders on it.
Yes.
Because they don't have to deal with that, obviously, no braking, no acceleration. And they come in with all the confidence in the world that they're going to be able to do it. 9 times out of 10, they pull that trigger with way too much confidence. They haven't leant forward, and it just shoots out from underneath them.
Yeah, we've definitely seen that before. And I tend to find that with people that have skated on just, a kick push skateboard, they're great when it comes to the balance and the controlling, like carving, steering the board. But those initial getting used to that initial kind of taking off and slowing down is where they get caught out because they're not used to it.
I think it comes back to the overconfidence thing.
Yeah, 100%.
They think their skills are going to be way up high, and it's like, oh wait, you're a beginner with a remote, so just give it. You will be able to do it in about 10 minutes time.
Yeah,
just go easy.
Exactly, and again, comes back to take it slow, step by step, get used to that initial interaction using that remote and understanding those triggers. And then once you've got those skills, yes, you're probably going to be better than most people when it comes to, whizzing along and turning. But yeah, definitely take a minute to understand how it all works and get used to it before you go too crazy.
Right. So say someone comes into the shop, they do buy the board, and then we hear back from them in, 2, 4, 6 weeks. Are there any common threads amongst some of the things they reach out about, like either whether it's concerns or just queries about what they should be doing?
Yeah, never really concerns, more queries, things about, now they've got a bit more confidence. A lot of questions regarding, as we discussed before, like bushing setup and bits and pieces like that, belt tensions, general maintenance things that they'd like to know. We tend to find that people kind of fall in love with their boards after, once they've got used to the initial nerves and excitement of being a new rider. So it's all about, how can I make this better? How can I make this faster? How can I make it more original and mine? So really different for each rider. Queries of kind of where they can ride as well, what terrain. A lot of customers with the all-terrain wheels, the newbies would start off just on the pass, on the roads. They're learning those skills, they're building that confidence. Then they might reach out and ask, hey, I've been really enjoying this. I want to go do some off-roading. Where can I ride the board? It's really exciting to see people kind of come from not having any idea and no skills on riding an electric skateboard to falling in love with something and it becoming a passion, and then just striving for more and more and wanting to do the most they can on one of our boards.
Yeah, it's awesome to see how people just, like you say, fall in love. And that's like through a whole bunch of things. Customization's a big one, whether it's just aesthetically or performance-wise with bushings, wheels, whatever, or like you said, experience new ways to ride. And I figure like anyone watching this, not anyone, but there will be a lot of people watching this that either do have a brand new board or they are thinking about it. Yeah. So a hot tip for them would be to find your local eSkate groups. There's all these communities 100%. All over the world. Literally every city's got some form of PEV group or an Evolve riders or an electric riders group, whatever it might be, and they'll be doing group rides in your local area. And once you start riding with other people that are sort of more advanced than you, they just know more. You're going to be able to learn, and everyone's so friendly, so lovely. They'll bring you in, and that's also a great way to experience all these things.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel as well, particularly knowing a lot of the guys in the Gold Coast eSkate community, there's just so many different styles of riders and different skill levels. So it's nice to be able to go into a group and know that you've got a load of people there that are wanting to help you, that are willing to help you learn. And there might be somebody who's been riding for years and years and has these amazing abilities you can learn from. There might be other riders just like you who are new that you can kind of learn together. And it's a great, really great way to kind of gain those skills, meet people who love it just as much as you do, and really get out practicing and keep on riding, keep practicing, because that's how we get better.
So you already said before, like new riders, you might recommend to go towards the bamboo board because it's a little bit more user-friendly with the flex and whatnot. What about the discussions on street versus all-terrain versus 2-in-1, and then the discussions on the different models of boards as well? Like, how do you find the right board for that person? Yeah,
so again, it really depends on the rider. So we always like to find out what they intend to use it for. Is it commuting to work? Is it doing some off-roading on the weekends? Just cruising with mates? How far they're looking to be able to go? Whether they have ridden before? If they have done anything like snowboarding, surfing in the past? All those kinds of questions help us make a recommendation. We, as I said before, we recommend bamboo usually for new riders just because of that flex, and it just feels a bit easier to control when you're not used to it. However, I have had some customers that love snowboarding, go snowboarding every year, and I've actually recommended the carbon for them due to that stiffer feel like a snowboard, and they've loved it. When it comes to the wheel setup, normally I would suggest all-terrain for newbies just because it just gives that bit of flexibility. You're not worrying so much if you do want to go over some grass, if you want to practice your carving on the grass and in case you fall off. Again, lowers those top speeds, stops those speed demons getting too excited when they don't have the skills.
Look, I don't think we need to bounce around it too much. All-terrain is a safer way to ride the board.
Yes.
It's less slippery because of all that grip.
Exactly, more grip.
It's more forgiving when you hit cracks in the road. The wheels are bigger. It, like you said, it doesn't go quite as fast, but still fast enough. Still
definitely. That's what I ride, and like I've said, I have a speed restriction on my remote, so even with that setup, still don't need that full speed out of it. And then, I think as well, if people are on the fence, the 2-in-1 is just the best option. They can get used to the board on that all-terrain setup, hone those skills, practice, and then when they're confident, just switch it over. Takes 10 minutes if that, and then they've got a whole new board there, and then they can, test out even bigger realms and learn new skills. So, it's great, I think, to have both those options. For newbies, all-terrain all the way, and then go with that 2-in-1 kit so you can change it up down the line once you've got that confidence.
How often do people not get the 2-in-1 kit and then come back and buy either the street or all-terrain conversion?
Yeah, we get it quite a lot. It normally goes when people have the all-terrain board. As I said, they get that practice, they hone those skills, and then they're more confident, they want more, and then they come and get the conversion kit, put the street wheels on, get that extra speed, get more into that carving with the slides. So it does happen quite a lot, and it is very popular for our customers to come back and get the conversion kit because they want to try something different without having to get a whole separate board. Love that we have that option as well. I think it's great. But very popular.
Yeah. I always say to people, because it is cheaper to buy the 2-in-1 rather than buying it later.
Yes, 100%.
So I'm like, I get it. Just buy the all-terrain, it keeps that initial cost low. But you're more than likely going to be coming back for this kit.
And like you just said, that's what I normally suggest. I said, look, if you get the 2-in-1, you've got the kit then. You don't have to put it on right away, but you've got that option in a few months when you're comfortable, you're confident. And as you mentioned, it's cheaper to buy it that way. We do a nice little bundle deal there, so saves you a bit of cash in the long run. We do often get customers going for that option once we've kind of had a chat with them and let them know the deal. And then, often those who don't go all in straight away do end up coming back down the line. So, highly recommend the 2-in-1 for the new riders out there.
Stoke versus GTR versus Haitian. For a first-time rider, which is right? Obviously not one size fits all, but what sort of rider goes to each one of those boards?
So, first-time rider, we would normally recommend the GTR. All-terrain, nice middle ground, gives the option for the AT setup, as we said, a bit nicer for new riders, but you've still got that nice range there and the longboard style, which is a bit easier to balance and control if you've not used to skateboarding. So that would always be our go-to suggestion for newbies. The Stoke, I would say, we find a lot of the time they're people that commuting in cities, people that have skated before that like going to, skate parks, doing tricks. That's more suited to them. Obviously, a slightly shorter range there, so it's not the best for if you want to go on massive long rides on the weekend, but definitely very popular. And I was always nervous to get on a Stoke because I had never skated and I was just used to practicing on the GTR, the Haitian, the longboard style with their AT wheels. But the second I jumped on one, I fell in love with it and I understood why so many people like it. And now it's really pushed me to actually recommend it for newbies because it is exciting. It is great fun to use. It's just a slightly different feel. But again, it just comes down to that confidence, taking the time to learn things and understand how the board works. And it's, no reason why anyone can't get on it and ride one. When it comes to the Haitian, hands down, my all-time favorite board, Haitian Bamboo, that's my pick. That's the one I love to ride. And I do always recommend that to customers, tell them how much I love it, how that's my favorite board. But if you are a newbie, sometimes the idea of that power and that speed scares you. The GTR is that nice middle ground that we would normally recommend if people weren't sure if they really needed help. But I do find a lot of the time, even people who haven't ridden electric skateboards before that come to see us, they've at least looked at our products. They know what they can do, and they've already got an idea of what they want in their head. It's just maybe a bit of guidance and reassuring from us.
Yeah. That's so true. And I've had a lot of my friends buy boards and of course they pretty much get whatever I tell them and I base it on them.
Yes.
And most of the time it is a GTR. But sometimes I've been like, I know you. It's going to be sweet for you, but I know in 4 weeks you're going to wish it had some more. Right?
Yes. And that is one thing I often say to people as well, that, recommend the GTR as a starter. Definitely one of the best for beginners is in how we feel, but if you like this and you get stuck into it, I bet you're back here in a few months wanting that Hayden.
Are you the kind of person that in 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks is going to be pissed off that you didn't spend a little bit more to get the one you actually wanted?
Personally, yes.
Do you feel like you're the person that's going to want more?
Yes, because look, that's what I did. Yeah.
I think those people know who they are
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
So the Haydian might be the right bet. If you're just looking to go to work, do a little 12-kilometer skate, you're not trying to kill yourself, the GTR is more than enough.
Yeah, 100%.
More than enough.
And yeah, even for me, I'm still learning skills. I'm still, working on my abilities when it comes to riding an electric skateboard. But even now, as I just said, the Hayden's my favorite. I'm now confident enough that I can go that bit faster. I've got that understanding of turning and carving the board. And already now, within about 3 months, that was it. I was on the Hayden, right? That's it, my favorite. I don't want to ride anything else.
It's a bit like that. I'm a Haydian carbon man myself, through and through. But I did a group ride late last year, I think.
Yeah.
And I hadn't actually ridden the Series 2 Carbon GTR very much at all. So I'm like, screw it, I'm going to take that to the group ride. And I'll tell you what, I wasn't at the limits, riding in that scenario, because you're not riding at full speed. You're not doing any gnarly off-road stuff. And I was doing laps around like these DIY boards that, can go really fast and whatever, but the performance of the GTR, what it had in the torque, what it had in the maneuverability, man, I was shredding out there more than like a lot of other guys. So it's not that it's an incapable board by any stretch of the imagination. Like, you can still have all the fun in the world. It's just
100%.
how much fun, how much do you want to push it in the future? And do you really need to spend the extra money? Because if you're not using the extra, it's a waste of money, to be honest.
Yeah, no, 100%. And totally agree with that. GTR is still an awesome board. And yeah, I absolutely love it. Again, like we were just talking about, it's the person. So I know I'm that kind of person that I always want more. Once I've got something and I understand something, okay, what can I do next? What else can I learn? What can I push myself to? But some people don't need that and don't want that. And yeah, then that given that the GTR is perfect. It's awesome. It still can reach awesome speeds. It can still go 30 odd kilometers. That's mammoth. Like, I could ride that back to and from work, 3-4 times to commute without charging it. Like, that's crazy. So yeah, really, again, comes down to the person. I think their preference, how quickly they learn, how far they want to push themselves. But that's what I love, is having those different types of boards to really suit different people and different needs.
Awesome. Look, I think that's pretty much like enough information for everyone to soak in. So to really quickly recap it, don't ride harder than your skills let you.
Yep.
And then figure out what you want to do with the board, and then find the one to match.
Yes.
And then
100%.
one that we didn't talk about, but we can talk about all day, is wear safety protection. Right?
100%. Always wear your helmets. We always tell customers that. And then especially people that come in for a new board, we ask them, have they got a helmet? If not, we make sure we kit them up with one. The boys here always wear their pads and elbow pads and knee pads. Everything like that, safety first that's the top priority. Have fun, get out there, learn, gain new skills, push yourselves, but, be safe.
And on that note, thanks guys for watching. Links to some of the common mistakes videos and the get to know your boards all in the bio, and we'll see you on the next one.